right. Hi. Welcome in. I'm excited for today. I feel like today is potentially a long overdue podcast, one that I'm kind of surprised I haven't talked about yet. This is a question that I get every time I ask you guys, what you want to talk about when I ask my Instagram followers. And I always have on there, talk about your birthing stories. We want to hear your birthing stories. And I've never really publicly talked about them, at least in detail. And so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to tell you guys about all three of my birthing stories and those new days when, the kids were teeny tiny and that whole phase of my life, which feels like a million years ago now. And I'm just going to get right into it because I actually do think there's a lot of information here, and because I have 3 kids, it's potentially could be a very long podcast. So settle in. This one's definitely for the moms or anyone who is wanting to become a mom. Hopefully this will be exciting. And so it has been a minute since I've had a newborn baby, so I'm gonna have to really jog my memory and go back. So I'm gonna start in order, obviously, starting with Camden, who just turned 13. So this is 13 years ago, guys. Okay. So cut me a little slack if I can't remember all of the details. But okay. So Cam, I officially moved to Chicago from LA when I think I was actually like 7 months pregnant with Cam. I was in Chicago all of the time, obviously. And, my now ex-husband was living in Chicago, but I was still in LA a decent amount until about 7 months being pregnant. And then I made the official move. I kept my place in LA, but it was like, okay, I'm actually moving now, and like brought all of my stuff. So Camden's due date was August 8th, which is actually when I had him, which is kind of cool. I know that's rare to have your baby on your actual due date. And, I think you guys know my ex-husband played football, and training camp is, I think it's the end of July, and then preseason is throughout August. And so, my due date was when my ex-husband was going to be at training camp, and it just sort of was what it was. Obviously wasn't ideal, but like, okay, here we are. And the Bears would practice, I want to say it was like 45 minutes away from Chicago, and we were living downtown at the time, maybe 30, 45 minutes. I can't remember exactly, but somewhere in there. And so what happened was August 7th, I was having contractions, and I thought, okay, this is it. This is go time. But they tell you to time out your contractions. So what is it? It's a contraction lasting, I think it's a contraction that lasts for a minute every 5 minutes or something. I don't know. I'm probably wrong about that. It's something in that window though. And so Jay actually ended up coming home, and I was like, I'm having contractions, but I could talk through them. I was fine. Like I could walk. So we went for a walk through the city, and then they just sort of went away. And so I definitely had false labor. And then Jay ended up going back to training camp. I was able to sleep that night. No, sorry. This is August 6th. This was 2 days before I had Cam. So then that night I was able to sleep. August 7th, woke up totally fine. And then later that afternoon, it was like, oh shit, these are contractions. This is real. And it was brutal. And so I called Jay, and same thing. I was like, okay, it's actually happening now. It's go time. Like I need you here with me. So he was able to come home, and I remember we were timing out my contractions, and he's like ramming his hand into my back, just anything to help, because the contractions were really bad, I have to say. And I'm like sitting there dying, and he's like, well, it hasn't been a minute and I was like, fuck off, like literally fuck off. So I ended up calling my doctor, and maybe I must have called the hospital, and I was on the phone with them, and I had a contraction while I was on the phone. And that's when they were like, okay, come in. Cause I couldn't talk. I was like, hang on. I couldn't move. So they were like, come in. Well, we lived really close to the hospital. And so we got in, and I will never understand this, but you check in and then you're like sitting there waiting around forever. Like no urgency whatsoever at least at the hospital I was at. And I'm like, I'm dying, you know, my contractions were pretty brutal, I have to say. So we get there, they finally get us into a room, and I was 5 centimeters dilated. And I didn't know what was happening at the time. I was sort of unaware of what was going on because they hooked me up to all of the monitors. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we're going upstairs. We are going upstairs. You know, now everyone's moving. I was like, oh, look at this, you know, a little urgency, you know, a little pep in your step. That was nice to see. And as they're wheeling me into the elevator, my doctor, shout out Dr. Julie Barton, who's in Chicago. I don't even know if she practices anymore, but she delivered Camden and Jaxon. She's awesome. But she was in the elevator and I was like, oh, hey, Dr. Barton. Like, I have no idea what's going on. Okay. I just think this is status quo. Like, this is normal. And she seems a little, you know, like a little on edge, but I'm just like, okay, I have no idea what's going on. Because also, mind you, I'm still in a lot of pain. Like, I'm still having contractions. So I think that's where I was so focused on that and just trying to survive, quite honestly. So then they get me up to another room. They hook me up to a bunch of monitors again. And then, they heard Camden's heartbeat and everyone calmed down. And so I didn't realize, because then Jay told me they couldn't find his heartbeat when we first checked in and we were downstairs. And thank God I didn't know that, because I would have been freaking the fuck out. And so honestly, Jay and I at the time sort of joked, and I still joke, like, Camden knew what he was doing and he just wanted to rush us in there and get us up to our room and get us settled. And so after he was totally fine, I was like, oh, thanks, buddy. Like, you knew what you were doing. Because the wait would have been, I mean, it was long. Like, we were in the lobby waiting for a long time, and then they put us in this like holding room, you know. So, but thank God I didn't realize that. So then what happened was I did get the epidural. And let me preface all of these birthing stories with, I was 25 when I had Camden. I would do things differently, I think, today, if I were to have a baby today. But in the same breath, I remember at the time being like, I have nothing to prove. I know I'm strong, and right now I'm fucking dying. I want the epidural. So while I think in my mind, like in my perfect head, I'm like, if I had a baby today, it would be, you know, like a water birth, and I would do it all naturally. But I was dying. I mean, I was dying with Cam. And I think at the end of the day, we should never judge other moms, other women, for their birthing plan and what they end up doing, because pain is different for everybody. Everyone's pain tolerance is different, but also everyone's experience is just so different. And we'll get to it, but all three of my experiences were very, very different. And so, you know, it just is what it is. Yes, I got an epidural. I got an epidural with all three of my kids, and I am okay with that. Again, I'm not crazy about when you think about, you know, a drug being administered into your body. I'm sure some of it goes to your baby, and that does not make me too excited. But with Cam, I was just trying to get by, quite honestly. And what the epidural did for me was it took away the contractions, but it didn't take away the feeling of my vagina literally feeling like it was ripping in half. I mean, the more women I've talked to, not everyone has that experience, but like, you guys, so I remember being like, okay, yeah, the epidural is great, but it didn't take away all of the pain. I was still fucking suffering. I remember just laying in my hospital bed, just laying there in silence, and just tears just kind of like running down my face, because when I'm really in pain, you won't hear a peep out of me. I suffer in silence. Like, that's just how I've always been. And so the epidural, thank God for that, for the contractions, but it still hurt like a bitch. Okay. But I will say, Cam, for my first especially, was a very relatively easy labor. I pushed for 20 minutes, which I know is amazing. You know, and it feels like you're pooping out the baby. Like, that's just literally what it feels like. I ended up having Camden, I think it was about 1:30 in the middle of the night. And that kind of sucked because I was so tired. You know, I mean, I got no sleep that night. And then obviously, I mean, anyone who's a mom knows you don't get sleep. Well, really, your sleep is never the same ever again. My sleep to this day has never been the same since August 8th, 2012. But you really, I mean, for the next, like, I'd say 4 months, you're really pretty sleep deprived. Also, it was so funny because, with the first, you do everything by the book. I mean, each kid got a little more lax. So with Cam, I never had sushi once. I won't lie to you guys. Camden or Jaxon and Sailor, I definitely had sushi a couple times, but Camden, I did not go near it. And so what I was really craving in the delivery room was sushi, or what I thought I wanted was sushi. And so we ended up getting sushi. And after you give birth, I mean, I don't know, this was my experience. Sushi is actually the worst thing to get. It was not good. I think the other two I ended up getting like a medium rare steak, and like mashed potatoes. Like you want like something hearty and comforting. Sushi in theory sounded great because I couldn't have it for 9 months. Well, 10 months really. But I wouldn't recommend sushi in the delivery room. I just remember being kind of grossed out by it. I think I also had a little baby glass of champagne, which I also just didn't want. I just remember being like, I did not make the best decisions on what to have post pushing a baby out the hoo-ha. I stayed in the hospital, I think, for 2 nights. One of them being the night I actually had Cam. And Jay actually had to leave to go to a preseason game, which must have been the night I had him. I mean, had to have been. So on August 8th. Which, listen, it was right in Chicago. I had Cam in Chicago. So he was just gone for like, let's call it 4 hours, which was fine. But then I went home, and because he had to go back to training camp, my mom came and stayed with me for a week. And God, thank God for my mom. I mean, I don't know how I would have done that by myself. I tried to put Cam in a bassinet in my room. And I just remember anytime the kid moved a centimeter, I was awake like, oh my God, what happened? Oh my, like, any little thing. So I got no sleep with him in my room. So I did end up moving him into his nursery, and that was a little bit better, but same thing. I mean, even on the monitor, anytime he would, make any little noise, I was like, I was up. And as a first mom, I mean, you have no idea what you're doing. And I was 25 and none of my friends had kids. I had only been around a newborn baby, I think, one time. And it was because one of Jay's sisters actually had a baby a couple months before me. But other than that, I had never even seen a newborn baby. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. So I was having to learn as I went. And I mean, I read baby books and stuff, but that doesn't even, I mean, this is a hands-on experience, and every baby is different. And so I was just going, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And in those early days, and oh, by the way, I didn't have any help with Camden. And I'm proud of that. And I think I did it because I think I wanted to prove to some people that I could do it myself. And I'm really happy that I did. I'm really happy that I have those memories of Cam and I in the early days. And so I was exhausted, obviously, as every new mom is. And I think when you're trying to get your baby to sleep, you're like willing to try and do anything. And there were nights that Camden would sleep in a swing because he would stay asleep longer. And, you just do what you got to do. And ultimately what happened with Camden was, I remember at 3.5 months, I was still getting up around 3:30 to give him his pacifier. I never even thought to let's see if he can work it out for a minute or two, I mean, again, first mom, new mom, I'm like, oh, he's awake. Okay, here, pacifier every night, pacifier. And then what we ended up doing was, because at 3.5 months, and it was, I just remember I was really tired. I was really, really tired. And so what we did was, or maybe this was closer to 4 months, 16 weeks. We hired someone to come in and sleep train him. And what they ended up doing was his 3:30 a.m. feeding that I had dropped, I don't remember when, a week before or whatever it was. And then I was giving him his passy. They came in and brought back that feeding. So instead of giving him a passy or like seeing if maybe he could work it out, they brought that feeding back. And instead of even telling me what was going on or having me nurse him, they just went in my freezer and my breast milk stash and started pulling bags out every night, which really ate away at my stash. And, any breastfeeding mom knows that stash is freedom. And so I was pretty upset about that because also I had already dropped that feeding. Like we had worked through it, like everyone was fine. And so that was a huge bummer, but like, okay, fine. It was what it was. And then they did end up sleep training him, at 16 weeks, which he was easy to sleep train. That's what I mean. I think, I probably didn't need to be getting up at 3:30 and giving him the passy. I bet he would have like worked it out himself had I given him the opportunity, but I just didn't know. Oh, we forgot to talk about recovery after having a baby. Recovery after the first kid is legit. I mean, like that was brutal. Those ice packs that they give you, man, I used every single one. And those granny panties, I mean, I used like everything that the hospital gives you. If you're a mom who hasn't had a baby yet, take all the things, grab extras, get them all, because with a first baby, you are going to want them all. I lived with those ice packs on the coochie coo. It was brutal. The first one is brutal. I remember like I couldn't really sit down. It was like, oh, what the fuck just happened? That was awful. I will say the second and third, not nearly as bad. Not nearly as bad. Everything all around with multiple kids is so much easier than the first. I think your body just sort of knows, we've been here, we've done this, we know what to do. I mean, like game changer with the other ones because that recovery is no joke. Cam was a really good baby and I didn't know any different because he was my first, but he was awesome. The only little bump in the road that I remember is around like 5:00 every night for, I don't know, maybe a week or two. I mean, it felt like eternity, but looking back, it was probably just a week or two, but he would just cry. I mean, he would cry and he was so upset and I had no idea why ever. Yeah. And so I just remember that was hard. I just remember like, rocking him and like trying every little thing and nothing that I did worked. And it was just sort of one of those little phases, and then it just sort of works itself out. But that was the only real thing I remember with him. My memories of Cam it was just Cam and I against the world living in Chicago because I knew Beegs in the city, but Beegs was still going out all the time and she was having fun and she had a ton of friends and I had a newborn baby. I mean, I was so tired. I was kind of on Camden's schedule. If he took a nap, it was pretty likely I was taking a nap. And that was it. Jay was in the football season. My mom was around, but she was in a suburb. And so it wasn't like she could just pop over. So really my memories are the first, 5 months or so. It was just Cam and I, and we would just cruise the city. I mean, I'd put him in a stroller and we would just cruise around. There was this little juice bar that I would go to all the time. I took him over to Lake Michigan. I took him for walks over there sometimes. And that was what we did. Like Cam and I just went for walks. I'd put a cute outfit on him every day and, take a picture. I mean, like that was the extent of it. Like not a lot was happening those early days. There was one time I met Beegs for brunch, her and a few friends. And it was such a hassle, with the stroller and the diaper bag and like all the things. Like there were so many things with newborn babies that I was like, this isn't worth it to me. Like this, I'm exhausted and I just sat down just because it was so much stuff. And so I don't know. I think when I had newborn babies, I kind of did just isolate or hibernate is maybe the better word. And just kind of hang. Cam did go to some football games with me. And when he was really little, it was so easy. He would sleep through the games. I mean, it was kind of amazing. As loud and crazy as they are, I mean, this little baby, he would just sleep. And it's really sweet. I've got some of the cutest little pictures of him at these games when he's teeny tiny and he had on all of his Bears gear and everything. But those are really special memories for me because it was such a moment in time in my life. And I just have like this snapshot of that whole era in my head. And again, I mean, I'm just, as hard as it was, I'm really happy that I had that time with Cam and I, because it really just felt like me and my little buddy. And, that was it. And it was a very different experience with the other two. And so I just love that. Cam's my guy. And there is a special bond with that firstborn because, he completely changed my life. And I was learning how to be a mom with Cam. It was like Cam and I were learning together as we went along for the ride. And him being such a good baby, it helped a lot. It made it that much easier. So Cam's my guy. Cam is my guy. And then we get to Jaxamo, my little Jaxie. Now when I had Jaxon, which Jaxon came 21 months later, now we were living in a suburb called Lake Forest. And so we were up north and I wanted to stay with my doctor. I wanted to have Jaxie at the same hospital. And so this is one thing I definitely would have done differently is I got induced with Jaxon. And that is one thing I'm really not crazy about. I think if I were to choose between the epidural and getting induced, I would go epidural over induction over being induced because I don't know. I just think like, whatever. I'm not going to get into it because I'll tell you why I did it. I did it because now we're up north, and so we have to drive into Chicago. The traffic in Chicago is horrendous sometimes, you guys. Well, not sometimes. It always is. Chicago has horrible traffic. And now we have Camden. And so, once it's go time, and everyone was saying, your second one comes faster. And I'm like, well, Camden already came pretty quickly. So holy shit, this Jackson's going to come really fast. And so logistically, it was like, okay, well, we need to have someone lined up to watch Cam. We want to be able to get to the hospital. I don't want to have this baby in the car. And it just sounded like, okay, this is sort of great. Hey, if you can do this, then awesome. So we ended up being induced. Jay and I went and stayed in the city the night before, had like our, last little date night, and then went to the hospital early. I want to say maybe around 6 a.m. we got there. We knew Cam was taken care of. Everyone was safe. Everyone was good. And I will say, it was a pretty seamless experience. I got there, they gave me Pitocin, and then I'm pretty sure I got the epidural right away. So I never even experienced contractions, which, hey, was pretty nice, not gonna lie. I also don't really remember the feeling of my vajayjay ripping in two. I think, again, because it's the second one now, your body, again, it just sort of knows what it's doing. And so I really look back at this experience and it was really easy, like really easy. And, would it have been that easy had I not been induced? Probably not, but I don't know. I'm not crazy about the fact that I was induced, and that's my own personal thing. I know a lot of women do it, and hey, again, we all should just do what works for us. And listen, at the time, this worked for me. So it is what it is. Okay, guys, it's that time. Let's take a minute to talk about Element. You guys know them. You guys love them as much as I do. If you're not familiar with Element, it is a 0 sugar electrolyte drink mix and sparkling electrolyte water born from the growing body of research revealing that optimal health outcomes occur at sodium levels 2 to 3 times government recommendations. Each stick pack delivers a meaningful dose of electrolytes free of sugar, artificial colors, or other dodgy ingredients. You guys know that I swear by electrolytes. If you're active, if you travel, if you're just living somewhere that's really hot, you can definitely benefit from electrolytes. I work out. I go in the sauna regularly, and it's also been 100 degrees in Nashville this summer. So I've been drinking electrolytes every single day. I find that they just give me more energy. I just feel my best all around. And so I can't say enough good stuff about Element. They also have every flavor under the sun. They taste great. I personally love their chili mango. I know it sounds kind of interesting, but just try it because it will grow on you, and it is my new favorite. I also do really love their grapefruit. They had a special flavor this summer, which was their lemonade, which was also awesome. And right now, guys, Element is offering a free sample pack with any purchase. So that's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. That's actually such a great way to try all 8 flavors, or you can share Element with a friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/honest. This deal is only available through my link, so you must go to drinklmnt.com/honest. And yes, element is spelled LMNT. You guys know I love Nutrafol. I have been singing their praises for over a year now, and my hair is in such great shape. Oh, Nutrafol, I love you. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. I'm sure you guys have seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, oh, sure, like that actually works. And I honestly thought that too, until I found out that Nutrafol isn't like the rest of them. Nutrafol is physician formulated, clinically tested, and dermatologists recommend it. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF Content certified, the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. You guys know I'm a bit of a freak about what I put in my body, and I love that Nutrafol is 100% drug-free. They have really great ingredients that are actually good for the whole body, including ashwagandha and peptides and just really awesome stuff. So see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering my listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code HONEST. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com. That is spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code HONEST. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code HONEST. Let's talk about Wayfair, guys. It's a little bittersweet that summer is winding down, but there is something really nice about getting back into a routine. You know, as much as I love sleeping in and summers with my kids, I do like knowing that we have consistent family dinners, and I like being on a schedule. I just do. I always get really excited to make my house extra cozy in the fall and winter months as well. And that's why I'm really excited to talk to you guys about Wayfair. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room in the house, Wayfair's your one-stop shop. Refresh your workspace with desks, bookcases, and office chairs for way less, or make weeknight dinners a thing again with quality cookware that makes mealtime a breeze. You guys know I'm currently adding a pool house, and so I right now am in the process of picking out all of the bathroom light fixtures and the sink and all the decor and everything. And so I love this process. I love this phase. I'm making a ton of different collages on my phone. I'm on all the websites right now. And so I've been taking pictures on the website, on the Wayfair website, and I've been making all of my collages, trying to figure out exactly which way I'm going to go. And I love it because they literally have everything under the sun, everything you need. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your home goals with endless inspiration for every space and every budget. Find all your must-haves from furniture and decor to appliances and cookware all in one convenient place. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. I got to the hospital, let's say around 6 a.m., and I had Jaxie around 11 a.m. You guys, I pushed twice. Like when I tell you I actually pushed twice, I am not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. And I still joke. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? You picking up what I'm throwing down? Like, yeah, that's great. But also like, is it great? I don't know. But he was the easiest labor and delivery on the planet. And he was a really hard baby. So maybe that was the universe just being like, we're going to make this a breeze because the next 8 years with him are going to be really tough. And I love my little Jaxie, but man, he was a really hard baby. And he was kind of hard until he was about 8. And yeah, so he was in the problem was when he was a baby, he had really bad eczema. And I think he was just so uncomfortable. I used to have to put socks on his hands because he would scratch and itch at himself so much. And it really broke my heart. I mean, and eczema is really, it's allergies. And I think it's mostly gut related, which from some of the stuff that I've read, it really started with me, you know, being in my womb. And that kind of breaks my heart that, I don't know, had I gotten my gut checked and really focused on my gut health, could it have made a difference with Jaxie? Maybe. I mean, I'll never know. I will say I did anything and everything I could to help this kid's eczema. And in fact, because I really did not want to give him a steroid cream. And finally at like 8.5 months, we went in, we did get him a steroid cream. It had pretty much cleared up by then, but it was just like a couple little patches. And that steroid cream, I will say it got rid of it. And I think we only had to use it a couple times. And then he luckily has completely outgrown it. Thank God. Thank God. But it was really bad. And like, I look back at photos of him and he always had those super red cheeks. And like, I think he was so uncomfortable. And I mean, this kid has also always had FOMO. Even when he was little, I mean, he would only take 30-minute naps, you guys. 30 minutes on the dot. This kid is up no matter what, no matter where we are. Nothing mattered. No outside circumstances mattered. This kid only took 30-minute naps. And I'd be like, oh my God, Jaxon, please. But he cried a lot. He was really uncomfortable. And you know, when they can't talk and they can't tell you what they're thinking and feeling, I mean, it can be so hard. It can be so frustrating. And this kid getting him down for a nap. I mean, God, it was hard because he would cry. He was just crying and he was miserable. It was like he was afraid to close his eyes and take a nap because he didn't want to miss out on what was going on. And that carried through. I mean, he is still like that because this kid, here's what I'll tell you. So Jaxon was also very different because now I had help during the day. We had this girl, Nicole, we used to call her Coco, and she would come. It was kind of a weird schedule because she was in nursing school, but she came, it was like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it was like 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. or something. The weekends, I didn't have any help. But I did have a night nurse with Jaxon, and I think we did it twice a week when we first had him. And once I experienced the night nurse and then not having the night nurse, I was like, oh shit, this is real. This is real. This is harder. It would have been easier had I never experienced the night nurse. So we ended up, shout out Julie in Chicago. We ended up using her then every night. And I will say I am so thankful that I was able to have a night nurse with Jaxon and Sailor because it makes a huge difference. I realize how lucky I am, and I understand that's a massive privilege. Totally get that. Because, you know, Julie would bring me Jaxon in bed so that I could nurse him, and then she would take him when I was done. I mean, I understand how lucky I was. I totally get that. Not having to change their diaper and rock them back to sleep and everything. Not have to actually get out of bed. I would get out of bed to go pee. But like, you know what I mean? I didn't have to get out of bed. That was fucking money. So yes, I'm fully aware of how lucky I am. But so we did sleep train him at 16 weeks. And while I didn't have to do it myself, our room was next to Jackson's room and I heard everything. And that was pretty fucking tough, not gonna lie. That's hearing them cry like that actually kind of broke my heart. It like really kind of broke my heart, but it worked for a while. But Jackson's FOMO is stronger than the sleep training because what ended up happening once Jaxon could walk, all my kids walked at 10 months, but like, let's say like right after a year when he realized, oh wait, I can get out of my bed. Because what we did was, because all of the kids are about 1.5 years apart. So we would, you know, when Jaxon was coming, we transferred Cam into a bed that had the, like the guardrails, but it was like part of the bed design. And so, you know, he couldn't roll out of it, but there was like a little spot at the end of it that then he could get out of it in the morning when he needed to. And so then when Sailor was coming, same thing, you know, we moved Jaxon into this bed probably a little bit earlier than we normally would have, but we didn't want to buy a new crib. So we just like kept transferring everyone over. And so Jaxon was in this bed when he was, it would have been about 1.5 years when Sailor was born. And so once he realized he could get out of this bed, he came in my room. I'm not kidding, guys. Every single night for 4 years. I'm not joking. Every single night for 4 years. We would bring him back. He would come back. I mean, it didn't matter. We did and tried everything, and we were so tired because, again, now we have 2 toddlers and now we have a newborn baby, Sailor. And so, and I'm still, again, like, listen, I know I have a night nurse. I'm still waking up and I'm nursing Sailor. And now here comes Jaxon every single night. And, you know, really, you can say you haven't really slept when your kids are little like that. Like, you haven't really slept. Let's just call it what it is. And so I would be so tired that I would be like, just get in. Okay, get in, Jaxon, get in. And so 4 years. What ended up happening with Jaxon was he started sharing a room with Camden. And then that all of a sudden it just stopped. He stopped coming in my room. But I've told you guys, I do let him sleep with me. Now it's 1 night a week. So when school started, I told Jaxon and Sailor, you guys get 1 night a week with me. We can't do every other night because for a while we've been doing every other night. And I finally was like, guys, I need a night by myself. And yes, I have every other weekend, but you know, it's like, I also need a minute to myself. And the problem with them sleeping with me, because I actually do enjoy sleeping with them. Really, the problem is in the morning, because I get up before them, and then I have to be so quiet in my bathroom, like brushing my teeth and washing my face and like getting dressed. And so I want to be able to have the freedom to like move about my room and get dressed in the morning without worried about waking someone up. So really, maybe it's kind of selfish, but that's kind of why. But so it's funny because, you know, when you have multiple kids, you realize who they are from the moment they're born is really who they are. And of course, you know, circumstances and the outside world and different experiences will shape them. But the core of who they are, they came into this world with. And I mean, Jaxon is my best example. Well, all 3 of my kids are a great example of that. But Jaxon is a really good example of that because he has always had this FOMO from a really early age. He doesn't really like being alone. And he is my one kid that always wants to be with friends, wants to be doing this, wants to be doing that. Like, he really doesn't like having alone time. And that has always been true. It's just kind of cool, I think, and interesting to see as they get older how those little qualities that they came into this world with stick. You know, they're very true to who they are. And then we have my little Say baby. So Sailor, I was also induced with. And this time I was induced with her because, so I had her November 23rd. Her due date must have been, so I was induced with Jaxon and Sailor at 39 weeks. So her due date was a week later. But the problem was that week was Thanksgiving, and Jay was going to be in Green Bay playing them on Thanksgiving Day, which means he was going to be gone Wednesday and Thursday. And I think my due date was Monday. And so I'm like, with my luck, you know, this baby is going to come right when Jay is in Green Bay. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to have a baby with my mom. Like, I love my mom, you know, but I don't want my mom in the delivery room. Like, I don't know. There was no one else I wanted to be with other than my husband at the time. And I didn't want to do it alone. I can't even imagine having a baby alone. If there is anyone listening who's had a baby by themselves, like, holy shit, you are the most badass, strongest woman on the planet. I can't even fucking imagine. So I was like, I'm sorry, but I want my husband there. So I got induced the Monday of Thanksgiving. And now, again, we're living in Lake Forest, which is north of Chicago. And I actually ended up having Sailor in Lake Forest. Great experience. It was just way easier. You know, now I've got 2 toddlers and it just made more sense, you know, than going down to the city, even though I loved my experience at Northwestern with my doctor and everything. But same thing. I mean, listen, I get the appeal to being induced because both experiences were really a breeze. Same thing. I think I was there at like 6 a.m. or so. Sailor I had around 1 p.m. So it was a little bit longer of a labor than Jaxon, but not by much. And I pushed for like 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, let's say. Again, not very long. It wasn't just 2 pushes, but it was very quick. I did get an epidural with Sailor. I mean, same thing. It was like, why fix something if it ain't broke? You know what I'm saying? And it was a breeze. It was a breeze. We used the same night nurse with Sailor, Julie. And again, here's the thing. Jay was in the middle of the football season, you guys, and I had 2 little kids. I mean, Camden was 3 and Jaxon was 1.5 years. And now I have a newborn baby. I mean, that would have been really hard to just do completely on my own. And I don't even, listen, everything aside, I don't feel like I have to defend myself for having a night nurse. Listen, I had the means to do it. I did it, and so it just is what it is. And I know how lucky I am. And I know not everyone gets to do that. It doesn't make me less of a mom though. I can tell you that. I was essentially by myself, raising these 3 little kids. And I remember that phase. Oh my God. It was like every day we just have to do one thing. We have to leave the house one thing a day. And most of the time that was going to Target or the park or the grocery store or, like not doing a lot of big things, but like I knew we had to leave the house one time today, because it just broke the day up. It just helped with the time. It's like when your kids are little, the days are really long, but the weeks and the months go by so fast. But those are long days. And again, I was primarily by myself with 3 little kids. I mean, I had 3 kids, 3 and under. It was a lot. It was basically a blur. I blacked out. I don't remember a lot of it. And we did do play dates. 2 of my really good friends who are still my friends, I had met them. I met them in a mommy and me class with Jaxon. So, which was great timing for me, having these little guys because they would come over and we were all in the same phase of life. That's the key when your kids are little, is finding people that are in the same phase of life, because it just, so that you can get all the kids together and it just breaks up the day. And Cam was in preschool. When did Camden start preschool? Must have been 3 or 4. I mean, there was a great school that we were at, Country Day in Lake Forest. We absolutely loved that school. That was a really great preschool. And so I would take him in the morning, and then, God, I honestly can't remember when I would pick him up. I don't think it was all day though. And when it started, it was only, I want to say like twice a week or something, but God, now I can't remember that schedule. I'm excited to talk to you guys about Foria. Maybe you remember a podcast I did a couple years ago with Kiana Reeves. She works for the company Foria, and they have the best intimacy products, which I'm excited to talk to you guys about. Foria is here to help you have really good sex and more of it, the kind that makes you feel nourished, juicy, and fully alive. They make life-changing, all-natural, organic formulas for your most intimate needs. So let's start by talking about their Awaken Arousal Oil. So imagine the best orgasm or sex you've ever had, okay? Now imagine that it could be even better with products that were designed to naturally enhance sexual pleasure and give you access to bigger and better orgasms. Okay, so what is arousal oil? Awaken is like a juicy warm-up that helps you get really turned on, increasing your pleasure, deepening your orgasms, and increasing your connection with your partner or with yourself. With the holidays coming up too, you guys, I personally think that this makes great gifts for your partner, of course, or even your girlfriends. Can't go wrong here. So yes, you have my permission to try this. I fully endorse you to go ahead and treat yourself or your partner, or both of you. Experience your juiciest and deepest sensual experience with a bottle of Foria. Foria is offering a special deal for my listeners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting foriawellness.com/honest or use code HONEST at checkout. That's FORIA wellness.com/honest for 20% off your first order. I personally recommend trying Awaken or their pleasure set with all 3 of their best sellers. You'll thank me later. Armora Colostrum, you guys know I'm a huge fan. In a world that's constantly changing, your health just shouldn't be up for debate. From the latest wellness trends to the chaos of modern culture, we're always questioning what's real and what's just noise. But one thing is definitely for certain. Your body wasn't designed for the nonstop stress, the processed foods, and all the environmental toxins of today's world. Armra colostrum is nature's original superfood. It's packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that fortify gut health, strengthen immunity, revitalize hair growth, and fuel performance at the cellular level. Because no matter where you stand on the latest hot topic, feeling your best is just never up for discussion. You guys know I swear by colostrum. When I am consistent with colostrum, I notice a huge difference. I notice it in my metabolism, you guys. I swear it really ignites your metabolism. My skin, my hair, my nails. I think it helps with energy. I notice it with my gut health. I just really love colostrum, and Armra makes it really easy to just get it in every day. You can just mix it with water. You can mix it in a smoothie. I'll actually do that with my kids so they don't even know that they're getting it in. And it just has so many incredible benefits. Definitely check it out. And I've worked out a special offer for you guys. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Go to armra.com/honest or enter honest to get 30% off your first subscription order. That's armra.com/honest. Another brand I live and die by, and that is Symbiotica. Can't say enough good stuff about this brand, especially because their quality is top notch. You can't find a supplement brand on the market that has better quality, quite honestly. I am constantly on the go. I basically am on a plane every other week. And because of that, in the past, my immune system used to kind of get run down. And when I would travel, it was almost a given that I was going to get sick in some sort of way. Well, now every time I travel, I take the Symbiotica vitamin C and the Symbiotica glutathione little packets with me. I love that all of their supplements come in these little individual packets because there's no excuse for not being able to get these in. You can easily throw them in your purse. I bring a bunch in my suitcase to last me my whole trip wherever I'm going, and they just keep me feeling my best. They also just launched a new sea moss packet, which I'm sure we all have heard the benefits of sea moss, but that's the other thing with Symbiotica. Every supplement that they have is something that everybody should be taking. So you really can't go wrong when it comes to checking out what Symbiotica has. Also, my kids, if my kids are starting to feel a little run down, I never have to battle with them about taking these vitamin C packets or the glutathione because they taste really, really good. So go to symbiotica.com/honest for 20% off plus free shipping. That's symbiotica.com/honest for 20% off plus free shipping. I also lived and died by my kids' schedules when they were babies until they dropped their naps. Like that was it. Well, even after they dropped their naps, though, bedtime, like I was home. I don't know. I found that my kids were in better moods. Obviously, I think when kids are sleep deprived, that's when they're just so cranky and it's hard to bounce back from that. And overtired babies are even harder to get to sleep. And so I don't know. I think I also love a schedule. I really appreciate structure and routine. And so when my kids were little, that was it. It was like, I can't go to that thing because, it's Sailor's nap time or whatever. And obviously when you have 3 kids, I remember with Sailor, like it was tough because now I have these other 2 kids and by then Camden had for sure dropped his nap. And I think Jaxon was probably taking 1, but Sailor was taking 3 at first, and it was like, guys, sorry, I know we're at the park, but like Sailor has to get home for a nap. And, everyone kind of had to bend for the baby, for Sailor, but I don't regret that at all. It hasn't been until the last couple of years that with bedtime, we'll push it. If we're out and we're having fun, it's like, okay, the bedtime we can be way more lax about. But when they were young, the schedule was everything, lived and died by it. And my memories of Sailor when she was a newborn baby are, that phase of my life is so interesting because I had Sailor on Monday and my brother went missing on Friday and for 2 weeks. So while Sailor was 2 weeks old, we didn't know where my brother was. And I felt like I was on one of those shows, like Unsolved Murder Mysteries. It was bizarre because I had a newborn baby that I obviously had to show up for day in and day out and be strong for. And I had 2 toddlers too. Well, Jaxon was a fucking baby as far as I'm concerned also. 1.5 years, you're a baby. My brother's missing. I remember my mom would come over and we'd be trying to like piece it together and I think we knew deep down that he probably wasn't alive, but we didn't know for sure until we found his body. And so it was weird. And then I'll never forget it. I had just hooked Sailor up to my boob to nurse her, and my dad called me and he told me that they had found Mike's body. And I mean, like, that high and low was one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. It's like, just found out that my brother did in fact die, which we all suspected, but until you have evidence, you kind of want to hold out a little bit of hope. And then I had this newborn baby, and who was like the most incredible baby on the planet. And Sailor was the best baby on the planet. God, she was the best baby on the planet. And I think her sweet little soul and the universe knew, between my brother dying and then when Sailor was 8 weeks old, I got into a car accident and I dislocated my elbow. Like, I couldn't, like, if Sailor was a bad baby, I don't know what the hell I would have done. And again, I mean, Jay's in the football season. Like, it was really hard for me. And when I dislocated my elbow, I was in a cast for a few days, which I was supposed to be in it longer, but Jay cut me out of it because he said that blood flow is actually the most important thing, which I do agree with. But I couldn't, like, I was nursing Sailor and I couldn't put her up. I couldn't like hold her by myself. I had to have, every time I nursed her, which obviously is every 2 hours, someone had to help me. Someone had to put her up to my boob and help me. And that was really hard. I mean, God, I remember when I got into the car accident and the paramedics came, and they were cutting me out of my jacket. And I just remember being like, I have a newborn baby. Like, I can't, this can't be happening. Like, I'm nursing her. Like, I can't do this. And I was like in shock, but being like, no, this can't be happening to me right now. And that was a crazy time, but God, Sailor was such a good baby. And I'm so thankful for that. And, here's what I will say to new moms is enjoy that time, because you don't get that time back. And I really pushed myself with Camden and Sailor when they were both 7 weeks old. Well, Sailor, I guess, was 9 weeks old. But Cam, when he was 7 weeks old, I went to LA with my mom and I had multiple photo shoots back to back. And that same trip, I went to dinner with some friends and it was my first night drinking. And you're like, first night drinking and with your friends and being out is so much fun, even though I'm fucking sleep deprived, but I'm going to be pushing it, on this end too, which was a horrible idea. And then after working for a few days in a row, my mom, Camden, and I took the red eye from LA to New York to go do, I don't remember exactly what it was. I think I had to go to some event or something. I think I was presenting someone an award at an event. I can't remember exactly, but like, what the fuck was I thinking? That was so draining on me with a 7-week-old baby. And I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. That I was like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. God. And then Jaxon, I think I chilled because I had him in May and then it was like moved right into summer. And so I think I was able to kind of like chill with Jaxie. And then with Sailor, same thing. When she was 9 weeks old. So right after I dislocated my elbow, okay, I'm like, I'm going to LA in a couple days and I've got all these photo shoots and all these things I have to do. And I did. I still went to LA with Sailor. Mind you, I had to bring Julie, who was my night nurse at the time, who also kind of like was my, nanny, night nurse / nanny, whatever. And she came with me because I couldn't even hold Sailor by myself, but my arm had been cut out of my cast, but I couldn't straighten my arm. So I always had this little bend to my left elbow and I had multiple photo shoots and I'd have to pull up these photos, but in these photo shoots, you can see I can't straighten my arm. I don't have like the movement, the flexibility. Like you can tell I'm pretty stiff in all of these photos, but I did them. And I had multiple photo shoots back to back. But again, like, why couldn't I just be like, hey, you know what? I have a newborn baby. I'm actually going to take 3 months, like a proper maternity leave. And I don't know, I just dislocated my elbow. And oh, I don't know, my brother just recently passed away. I'm going to just take a minute. Like, what the fuck was wrong with me? That's just one of those things. Like, God, I guess I was running, man. I was running from something. I mean, I know what I was running from, but you know, you guys feel me. I had to just be going constantly to avoid the inevitable, if you understand what I'm saying. But I guess in that sense, so I guess what I'm saying is, if you can take those 3 months and hibernate and just snuggle with your newborn baby and just be in sweats every day. Don't put makeup on. Put your hair in a ponytail. Like, who gives a shit? Enjoy that time and give yourself some real grace. I think what I remember from the early days is the mom shaming and the judgment is so real. And moms love to tell you what you should be doing and what you're doing wrong and why what they're doing is right. When, listen, every kid is different. And I've had to mother all 3 of my kids very differently, especially when they were little, but even today. And no one knows better than you as the mom of your children. There is not one person that can come in and tell you how to be doing things differently, because we know. And also, unless I'm asking you for advice, I don't fucking care. Okay? So keep your opinion to yourself. Thank you very much. It doesn't matter. And also, why do you feel like you have to be putting your opinions on me constantly? I really feel like people who are the ones that are going around telling everyone what they should be doing differently, it's because they actually are, I think it's coming from a place of fear that they're actually not doing something right. Because I'm over here pretty fucking confident that what I've been doing as a mom is working. It's worked. It has worked. It is working. And so I don't need to I don't know. It just like doesn't even cross my mind. I don't feel the need to tell you what you should be doing differently, because I know you'll figure it out. And I know that you know what's best for your kids, unless you ask me for advice. And that's different. Then I'm more than willing to share my experience. But I don't know. I just think the mom shaming really needs to end. And again, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier, in that, you know, whatever a mom chooses to do for her birth plan or even raising her kids, why do you care if it doesn't affect your life? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we want to shame another mom for inducing or getting an epidural, why the fuck do you care? This is not your kid. And that's like everything in life. And that's like my biggest thing is like, if it doesn't affect you, why do you care? Again, because that's about them. That's not about you as a mom. Listen to your gut. I mean, that's the only thing as a mom. That's the only real advice I would give you is listen to your gut, especially when they're little. And really, I know everyone says it, but it does go by so fast, so fast. So even though it's really, really hard, enjoy it. Enjoy it, because I would do anything to have my kids at ages 2 or 3, just to hold them. Like, I literally would do anything. I would do anything. So enjoy it. Just know everything is a phase. Everything is a phase. This too shall pass. And enjoy the snuggles while you have them. Okay, you guys, I will see you next week. And we're going to stay sort of on the nostalgic topic. And I'm going to tell you guys about a lot of the dumb shit that I did growing up when I was in middle school. And I started getting into trouble because it's absolutely ridiculous. And we're entering that phase with my kids. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you then.